Hey guys, it's Miss Delcambre. Today we're going to be going over 5.4, which is applying, adding, and subtraction of integers. So on the board is what you need. You need your journal, scissors, glue, pencil, highlighter, and you also need your textbook. So make sure you tear out page 138 in your textbook very carefully, okay? Because we'll be using those in our journal for notes. So here's a little quick agenda. You need to make sure you have your Ed puzzle, your iExcel, and Builder 5 done and turned into me by today. We're going to go over our homework check, and then we have our integer operation notes that we're going to do. And then I will have some videos attached to Delcam's videos for you to go and view. All right, so let's get started on the homework from last night. So remember, you only had 3 through 14 as your homework. And when we are subtracting integers, we add their opposites. Remember to add its opposites. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite them before I solve them. So -6 minus 4, -6 plus a -4. Same sign, so that would give me a -10. Second one, -7 minus a -12, which would be plus 12. Different signs, so I subtract. 12 minus 7 is 5. I have more of a positive than a negative, so it's going to be a positive 5. 12 minus 16, 12 plus a -16, different signs, so we subtract. 16 minus 12 gives me 4, and it's going to be a -4. Okay, 5 minus a -19, that's 5 plus 19, which gives me 24. And then next one down here, -18 minus a -18, -18 plus 18, well, that's an integer and it's opposite, so total is always going to be 0. Here we have 23 minus a -23. It's 23 plus 23, doubling it, so that would be 46. -10 minus a -9, -10 plus 9, different signs, so we subtract. 10 minus 9 gives me 1. I have more of a negative than a positive, so it would be a -1. Number 10, 29 minus a -13 is 29 plus 13, which gives me 42. Okay, next one. Box that in real quick. 9 minus 15, that's 9 plus a -15. So I subtract, so that would give me 6, and it would be negative because I have more of a -15 than a positive 9. -12 minus 14, that'd be -12 plus a -14, so same signs, add and keep the sign, so that would give me a -26. 22 minus a -8, so that's 22, add the opposite, which would be 8, which gives me 30. And finally, number 14 is -16 minus a -11, so that's -16 plus 11, different signs, I subtract. I get 5, and I have more of a negative than a positive, so it'd be a -5. All right. So now we're going to go to our journal. Okay. Let's go. We're going to glue in our stuff in a minute, but right now we're going to talk about helpful words you need to know if you're adding or subtracting integers. So let's write this out. Helpful words to know or to identify if we're adding or subtracting integers. So we're going to come up with a list. So because we're coming up with a list, we're going to divide it into 2 sections. So right here underneath the or, just draw a straight line. And we're going to first talk about some words dealing with money. So if we see the word deposit, That means I'm adding money into my account. The opposite of that, which would be the negative counterpart, would be withdraw. If I withdraw something, or if I have a debit, if I take my debit card and use my debit card, that would be a negative. Depositing is putting money in. Withdrawing and using your debit card is taking money out. Sometimes if you have a credit, like if you have a store credit, that's a positive. If you go to the ATM, you normally withdraw money. So if you see you made ATM withdrawals. This mostly has to do when we get to our financial literacy unit. So you kind of understand what are your positive and negative integers. So if you get your paycheck, that's money that's in. If you get like a raise, that normally represents a positive integer. If you write a check, that money is being taken out of your account. So that would be a negative integer. And again, these words sometimes identify, mostly they will identify under positive. There are some you have to read into it. It may be like, if we're talking about credit card, you put money in your, you buy something on your credit card, then that would be a negative. Okay. The next one, so this one's talking about money. So I want us to draw kind of like dollar signs, maybe a dollar right here. Put a president's face. There's my president. Some money here. So that we're talking about money. My next one we're going to talk about is sports. Some positive or adding integers is over par. You normally have a positive integer when you're dealing with over par. If you're dealing with under par, they have a negative integer. And this has to deal with golf. And for some reason, I've always seen that math questions always kind of throw a golf question in of over par and under par. If the team scored the winning goal, if the team lost points, you lost points in a game, that would be a negative. They gained yardage, they lost yardage. They had a goal, they scored a goal. There were several penalties. A penalty, such as like in football, if there was a call and it was a penalty and there was a loss of yards. Okay. And this right here is sports. So we're going to draw some sports. So like football. There's my football. We talked about golf, so I'm just going to draw a golf club with my golf tee. There are reasons why I'm a math teacher, not an art teacher. Okay, our next section that we're going to talk about is temperature. So if we have an increase in the temperature, it would be under a positive integer. If that cold front comes in, we have a decrease in temperature. It would be a negative integer. The temperature is going to drop. If it's above 0 degrees, those are all positive integers. If it's below 0 degrees, we're talking about negative integers. If the temperature rose, we're talking about positive integers. If the temperature drops, sometimes they say dips down, or the temperature falls below freezing, or those words deal with negative. So here are words and they deal with temperature. So I'm going to draw a little thermometer over here. And how my thermometer has little lines. And the little red mercury. No, they actually put mercury in thermometers anymore. And this is temperature. Okay, our next one has to deal with kind of outdoorsy stuff. So if you're climbing and we're talking above sea level, that would be a positive integer. Its counterpart would be below sea level. That would be a negative integer. We're talking about something's elevation or something climbed. Someone climbed up the mountain. It's a positive integer in most cases. If they descend, if the rock climber descended down the wall or down the mountain, down the cliff, that would be a negative integer. High, low, okay, rising, the water is rising, means it's increasing. A diver rising to the top would be a positive integer. If a person dives, so diving or dove, they're talking about negative integers. And this is dealing with, let's say, heights. So let's draw like a little mountain here. And then some water. So I'm going to draw a little fishy in the water and heights. Okay, the last one are just some words that we kind of see. If I see the word more, and if this normally means positive, less normally means negative. If I've given, was given something, it's normally positive. You were given $20. If you lost money or something was taken, saved, spent is its negative counterpart, received, and borrowed. So these are some words that we use to represent positive and negative integers and to identify them. Now, these are not all of them, but these are several that you will see so that you understand. Okay, so the next part, we have our notes. So here's our textbook page, and you need scissors because we're going to be cutting out some of this stuff. So we're going to be cutting out 1 through 9. So this section right here, 10 through 11, you're going to make a cut because you will not need. I'm going to cut that off and put that to the side. Then you're going to cut right underneath the 3 and into those 2 sections. Okay, so you have 2 pieces right now. So what I'm going to do first is I'm first going to put this into the 4 through 9 into my journal first. So I'm going to glue that in first, and then I'm going to hold off on gluing the next section. So I'm going to go in the back, glue that down, and put a little room right there and glue that in. And so right here, we're going to talk about combining like terms. Okay, if you remember in the video from the other day with PBS Math Club, they talked about combining the terms, like putting a circle around them and making sure you know which one's which. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, I want to combine my like terms, combine all my positives together, get all my negatives together, and then combine them. Okay, it's kind of like grouping. You want to put them all in a nice pile together, so all positives are together, all negatives are together, and then combine them. So I like to draw shapes around things. So here I have -6 plus 15 plus 15. Well, if you see this plus 15 and plus 15, those are both positives. This -6 is a negative, or -6. So when I combine them, I'm doing two separate colors to kind of show you visually. So 15 plus 15 gives me 30. So I'm left with 30 plus a -6. So I have different signs, so I subtract. 30 minus 6 gives me 24, and I have more of a positive than a negative, so my answer would be 24. Okay, let's look at number 5. All right, I have 9 minus 14 minus 17. Now remember, they said you put like a positive right there. So it's a plus, it's negative, plus, it's negative. So these two are both negative numbers. And then we have it's 9 by itself. So -14 plus a -17, 7 gives me a -21 plus 9. Okay, so I have different signs. So I'm going to subtract, which gives me 12. And I have more of a negative than a positive, so it would be a -12. All right, looking down here at the bottom, I am going to do plus a negative right there. So I have a 50, and I have a plus 10, and then I have a -42. All right, 50 plus 10 gives me 60, plus a -42 gives me 18. Looking here at number 7, I have a 6, that's a positive, 13, that's a positive, 17, that's a positive, minus 5 would be like plus a -5. So that's what's going to be different. So 6 plus 7 is 13. 13 plus 13 is 26. So then I have 26 plus a -5. Different signs, so subtract, so I'm left with 21. Okay, 65 plus 43 minus 11, so that's going to be plus a -11. Well, plus -11, it's going to be itself. And then 45 plus 43. 45 plus 43, 10, 8, 108. Plus a -11 gives me 97. There you go. All right, number 9. So we have a -35. And then that's going to be a plus a -14. And then we have a positive 45 and a positive 31. So 45 plus 31 is 76. Plus a negative, then 35. -35 plus a -14 gives me a -49. Gives me 27. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to cut questions number 1, 2, and 3 both out, so we have some room to write. So we're just going to glue 1, some space 2, and some space 3. So we have room to show some work. All right, number 1, Thomas works as an underwater photographer. He starts at the position that's 15 feet below sea level. He rises 9 feet, then descends 12 feet, and then takes a photo of the coral reef. Write the elevation of the expression to find the position relative to sea level where he took the picture, and when he took the picture. Okay, so we have some important terms here. We've got to figure out what the position he's at when he takes the photo. So let's identify some keywords and some key clues. So he rises, so he starts the position that's 15 feet below sea level. He rises 9 feet, then descends 12 feet to take the picture of the coral reef. So if we're looking here, he starts with about 15 feet below sea level, so that would be a negative 15. Then he rose 9 feet. Then he descends 12 feet. So we have our expression here, negative 15 plus 9 plus a negative 12. Okay, if we're combining our like terms, well, he descended negative 15 and negative 12. So that was a total of negative 27 feet. Plus, he rose 9 feet. We've got to remember that. So that would be negative 7 plus 9. They're different, so we subtract. 27 minus 9 gives me 18, and he would be 18, negative 18. So he would be 18 feet below sea level. You do not have to put negative 18 feet below sea level, because putting below sea level tells you that it's going to be a negative number. Okay, number 2, the temperature on a winter night was negative 23 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature rose by 5 degrees when the sun came up, and then it set again. The temperature dropped 7 degrees. Write and evaluate the expression to find the temperature after the sun set. So looking for key clue words to help us find this, we need to figure out what the temperature was after the sun set. So at first, the temperature on one night was negative 23 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature rose by 5 degrees. When the sun came up, when the sun set again, the temperature dropped by 7 degrees. So we started off with negative 23 degrees Fahrenheit. Then it rose 5 degrees. And then it dropped 7 degrees, which is going to be a negative number. Okay? When we combine our like terms, guys, combining like terms is easy, okay? Negative 23 and that negative 7. We're going to combine those together. And then when we combine our like terms, 7, 8, 9, 10, so it went down to negative 30. And then it rose 5 degrees, which gives me a negative 25. So my answer would be negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, make sure you put your degrees Fahrenheit of what you were talking about. My last one here, Jose earned 50 points on a video game. He lost 40 points, earned 87, then lost 30 more points. Write and evaluate an expression to find his total score in the video game. Okay, so do you see there's lots of clue words in there to tell you if they're positive or negative numbers. So we need to find out what his final score is. That's my question. Okay. So we know he earned 50 points. That's some important information. Then he lost 40, earned another 87, and then lost 30 more points. So if we think of this like as a timeline, so he first started off with 50. He earned 50. Then he lost 40. He earned 87, and then lost 30 more. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. My 4 digits are in there because he did it 4 times. So now I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have a positive. This is what he earned, and he earned 87. You lost 40, and he lost 30. So if I look at what he earned, 50 plus 87 is 137, plus 40 plus 30, 70. They're both negative, so that would be a negative 70. So his final score, well, we have different signs, so we're going to subtract. 137 minus 70 gives me 67. So he has a total of 67 points. He has 67 points at the end, or as his final score. Okay? All right. This is going to help you because you will have more word problems and process in answering, adding and subtracting integers with word problems. So identifying those key words that represent positive and negative integers is very important because you'll be using it 7th grade, 8th grade, and so on. And then combining those like terms. You can go one by the other, but I like to do it where I combine all my positives together and group all my negatives together and then put them in the end. Either way will work. It's just another way I wanted to show you. Okay, so I will post the videos on the video shown in class for you to watch. And it's Friday. It's Friday. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you later. Bye.